Again, I'm Angela Nelson. The title of my paper is Whiteness and White Characters in Good Times. The situation comedy Good Times, broadcast on the CBS network from February 8, 1974 to August 1st, 1979, is a television milestone because it was the first series to feature a recurring, intact Black two-parent nuclear family, the Evanses, on American primetime television for 3 consecutive seasons. In the conventions of 70s TV world, the intact Black nuclear family is a married, heterosexual, two-parent African-American family with children all living in a single dwelling at the same time. The Evans family was unapologetically Black in their televisual presentation. They physically appeared to be Black with their combination of rich brown, warm caramel, and coffee-shaded skin tones, and natural, chemically unprocessed and processed hairstyles. The Evans family also sounded Black with their use of Black orature, aphorisms, vernacular, and dialect. Good Times situated the family in a pluralist context, a Chicago public housing project that formed a separate but equal world with circumstances that essentially paralleled those of whites without disrupting and challenging the dominant perspectives about American society. This paper examines the executive producer Norman Lear's treatment of whiteness in Good Times, showing that the series engaged with whiteness in 3 fundamental ways: narrative, communicative, and performative. Performing close analyses of several episodes, I lay a foundation for seeing the white characters in Good Times as a new type of representation prefiguring representations of whiteness that would remain in dialogue with white characters in future Black-oriented sitcoms. Ultimately, white characters in Good Times represent the disposition and desires of the fictional 1970s white male liberal in a changing, divisive, multicultural American society. The Evans family consisted of Florida Evans, the loving wife and mother, played by Esther Rolle, star of the series; James Evans Sr., the hardworking husband and father, played by John Amos until 1976; James Jr., or JJ, the eldest son, played by stand-up comedian Jimmy Walker; Thelma, the middle child and daughter, played by acting newcomer Bernadette Stanis; and Michael, the militant youngest son, played by Raisin in the Sun star Ralph Carter. Janae Dubois was cast as the family's neighbor and Florida's best friend, Willona Woods. One accomplishment of Good Times was its ensemble cast of African-American actors on primetime television. Through this cast, often, Good Times displayed newer, recurring, empowering images of Black women, men, and youth. Within the primary framework of race, Good Times also constructed and engaged with whiteness. While images of African Americans in the series were generally positive overall, images of white characters were generally benign, negative, and stereotypical. Members of other racial and ethnic groups, such as Latinas and Latinos, did not appear in guest or supporting roles. One Asian American woman appeared in Florida the Woman at a Japanese restaurant, accepting Florida's meal order and serving her food and beverage. Herman Gray downplays the role of whiteness in series such as Good Times. Quote, "Although Blackness was explicitly marked in Julia and the Bill Cosby Show, it was whiteness and its privileged status that remained unmarked and therefore hegemonic within television's discursive field of racial construction and representation. Although subsumed by colorblind racism, I argue that whiteness and its privileged status is marked in Good Times, while at the same time being hegemonic. I think an examination of white women and men in Good Times is warranted because just as the images of African Americans are told through the governing creative voices of its white and Jewish men and women producers, there is a discourse about whiteness. The Evans family interacted with white women and men in such roles as public housing commissioner, entertainer, social worker, and medical doctor. The Evans family treated white characters with bemusement, irony, and ridicule, but also with respect, fairness, and equality. Good Times had no white characters in recurring roles, as did Julia and her neighbors, the Wagadorn family, and the Bill Cosby Show, and the high school teachers at Chet Kincaid's place of employment. White characters in Good Times appeared in transient roles. the guest starring role, and the small but necessary role. White characters sometimes fell within a, quote, parade of dumb or innocent, insensitive public officials, unquote, with which the Evans family and Willona contended. Within the narrative strategy, whiteness, colorblind racism, and the effects of intergenerational in Good Times is an object of ridicule, derision, satire, and commentary. For a humorous although yet critical affect, the smart militant youngest son, Michael, hails and engages with whiteness. Michael represents Black power ideology. He frequently comments on the effects that whiteness and various oppressive social structures and systems in American society have had on African Americans. While he frequently comments on these structures and systems within his family, at his school, and through letters to newspaper editors, his family does not take him seriously. In the first 2 seasons, a verbal running gag connected to Michael was his resistance to his parents calling him boy. His response was always, boy is a white racist word. By implication, Michael is aware that white slave owners purposely referred to enslaved Black males as boy. The name boy served to condescend to and to emasculate Black men, thereby reinforcing daily the social ineffectiveness of enslaved Black men and reminding them of their place in the social order in comparison to white men. Accordingly, off camera, Lear knew that hard-hitting, socially relevant issues of race spoken by a young adolescent stood unequally with commentary by adult or older adolescent characters. With Michael, viewers had the option of overlooking, minimizing, downplaying, undervaluing, trivializing, discounting, or disparaging his commentary. Plots involving Michael's militant commentary often centered the American educational system, as in the episodes IQ Test, Michael Gets Suspended, and The Crosstown Bus Runs All Day, Doo-dah, doo-dah. In general, Michael has a mature outlook on race relations in the United States. He sees the hidden motives of a white woman's sorority before the family does in Thelma's scholarship. Thelma receives a scholarship offer from Alliston School for Girls, a private boarding school in Michigan that happens to be the highest rated high school in the state. The school sounds like a snob school to Michael. Thelma shrugs off Michael's comment, showing happiness that the school is offering scholarships to needy Blacks, to which Michael corrects Thelma, saying, "You mean token Blacks." James tells Michael, the militant midget, to cool it. Cindy Bradford, played by Randy Callan, a white woman, visits Thelma on behalf of her sorority, Zeta Gamma, to invite Thelma to their first rush party. After Cindy blurts out that the sorority needs Thelma and that she understands the family's economic disadvantages, Thelma and her family see Cindy's motives. In the end, the family realized that Michael was right in the first place. In general, white characters interacted with the Evans family through the prism of colorblind racism. For example, in the Judy Cohen story, Black and white patrons attend a talent show, which included one of JJ's new clients, a white woman. Judy, his client, is self-deprecating, but accepting of JJ and his Black family. It is interesting how accepting Judy is of JJ and of how accepting JJ is of Judy. Also, one must ask if there were any such mixed race nightclubs in Chicago in the early 1970s. In Right On Thelma, Thelma's white female teacher, Miss Flicker, visits Thelma's home twice. Once to tell Thelma that her play won a prize, and second, to rehearse Thelma's play with her family. Thelma lives in the projects. It seems very unlikely that a white woman would come or come alone to her student's home to discuss the student's homework, especially a Black student who lives in the ghetto. Good Times also operationalized a communicative strategy to engage with whiteness involving white characters. 3 common communicative strategies highlighted rhetoric of whiteness: mimetic, ironic, and incidental. In the mimetic engagement of whiteness, the Evans family holds a mimetic relationship to the white character. That is, they are on equal footing or in a slightly higher social status in their relationships with white characters, such as in the Judy Cohen story and Right On Thelma. In an ironic engagement of whiteness, the series parodies the white fear of Blackness, such as the fear of Black criminality in The Visitor. In this case, the white male housing commission official is not familiar with Black culture. He's visibly afraid and apprehensive about being in the home of the Evans family. Ridicule towards the housing official from the Evans family ushered from this situation. In an incidental engagement with whiteness, the series comments on whiteness by the incidental or brief encounters the family has with white characters. For example, in the Judy Cohen story, two agents would like to book JJ's new client, Judith. These agents are white males.
You have about 2 minutes left.
Okay. They speak very few lines, but the audience quickly recognizes the realm of power and privilege these men hold in comparison to JJ. One of the white agents had cornered the market on entertainment outlets that JJ knew that if available to Judith would propel Judith's career forward. In a moment of awareness, JJ insists that Judith signs with the white agent, telling his family that he let Judith go because she would be a problem for him. Like the communicative strategy, the performative strategy also explicitly marked whiteness in Good Times. It involved visual, gestural, and oral signaling of white characters, especially when in the Black space of the Evans home. This signaling included the use of wide eyes, rolling eyes, raised eyebrows, and condescendingly sarcastic, ironic retorts in language. Whiteness is mocked in a reversal pattern in I Had a Dream, where JJ dreams he is white. In the dream, JJ interacts with the white JJ. The white JJ gestures, portrays, and sounds Blackness while knowing that he is white. In conclusion, as was the style of Norman Lear, Good Times was topical. Its topicality serves as a refracted accounting of 70s America and white authorized representations of African Americans through the creative authority of white and Jewish American male and female producers. White characters in Good Times are benign. Even in their benignity, they stood in as the white liberal who is colorblind, completely adjusted to social change, and empathetic of the plight of poor urban Blacks. They served as racial props, allowing Black characters to be the subject Lear envisioned Black people to be in the series. Thank you for your interest, time, and attention.